Imagine trying to teach a machine to understand human language, capturing every sentence structure across millions of sentences. While BERT revolutionized this process in natural language processing, it came with a major drawback, and this is enormous size and resource demands. And this made it challenging for practical applications where efficiency is a crucial part. So we enter into LBERT, which is a light BERT, which is designed to retain BERT's powerful language understanding while being more smarter, leaner, and faster. Albert actually tackles BERT's limitation with innovative techniques that drastically reduce its size and training requirements without sacrificing the overall performance. And today in this presentation, we have studied a paper on Albert, which is a light BERT for self-supervised learning of language representation. The workflow of this presentation will be as follows. First, we will be having an introduction, which will have the overview of Albert and its motivation along with its key objectives. Next, we'll be discussing the factorized parameter embeddings and then the cross-layer parameter sharing. Then we'll be discussing SOP, that why SOP was introduced and how it replaces the NSP, which is the next sentence prediction. Fifth, we will be having the BERT versus Albert, which will show a comparison between BERT and Albert in terms of its performance and efficiency. Next, we'll be discussing the previous research, future scope, along with the conclusion. Albert stands for a light BERT designed for the efficient self-supervised learning of language representation. So it was basically developed to tackle the BERT's inefficiencies, particularly in terms of memory usage and scalability. If I talk about the motivation, so BERT's large model size was 334 million parameters in BERT-large, which leads to memory and computational challenges during the training and deployment. So Albert aimed to reduce the model complexity while maintaining performance across the various NLP tasks. If I talk about the innovative techniques, so Albert introduced factorized parameter embedding and cross-layer parameter sharing to reduce model parameters and improve efficiency. These techniques allow Albert to outperform BERT in both terms, which is the speed and performance, and without requiring significant hardware resources. The objectives which Albert thought to achieve is to reduce the number of parameters and training time while achieving comparable or better result in popular NLP benchmarks. So it also replaced the NSP with a more effective task, the sentence order prediction. Talking about the performance, despite fewer parameters, Albert achieves the state-of-art results on various NLP benchmarks like GLUE, RACE, QUAD, providing that reduced number of parameters can can lead to better performance. Coming on to factorized parameter embeddings. So the problem with BERT was that in BERT, each token in the input sequence is mapped to a vocabulary embedding, which created a large V cross H matrix where V is the vocabulary size, which is 30,000 for the BERT base, and H is the embedding dimension, which was 768 for the BERT base. And this results in a large embedding matrix, which was having around 23 million parameter for BERT base, which required substantially more memory and computational resources. So Albert provided a solution for this. Albert factorized the original V cross H embedding matrix into two smaller matrices, which was V cross E and E cross H, where E is a smaller embedding dimension, which was significantly reducing the number of parameters. And this reduces the parameter count of the embedding without affecting the model's overall performance. For example, the embedding size is reduced from 768 in BERT to 128 in LBERT. Coming on to the cross-layer parameter sharing. So instead of learning separate parameters for each layer, Albert introduces cross-layer parameter sharing, where parameters are shared across the different layers of the model. So this allows the model to significantly reduce the total number of parameters without losing the complexity of the multi-layered representation. So basically, there are three types of parameter sharing which is done. The first is sharing the attention parameters. So Albert can share only the weights across the layers, attention layers. Second is sharing through the FNN, FNN parameters. So the model can share only the feed-forward neural network parameters. And third is sharing all parameters. So Albert opts to share both attention and FNN parameters across layers. So if I talk about the advantages, it reduces the redundancy in the model, making it more compact. And despite the parameter sharing, the model retains its ability to learn deep and complex representations. Now comes the third major findings of this research paper. So if I talk about in BERT, the next sentence prediction, which is used to predict whether two sentences appear sequentially in a text. However, it has been found to be too simplistic and not particularly effective for tasks involving sentence pair understanding. So now comes here the SOP. So NSP has certain drawbacks. See, so the authors of Albert believe that NSP is not effective because it conflicts two different tasks. The one is topic prediction and the second is coherence prediction. If I talk about topic prediction, it means whether the two segments discuss the same general topic, and the coherence prediction, whether the second segment logically follows the first. So topic prediction is much easier for the model to learn, and it tends to focus on this rather than learning true sentence coherence. And this makes NSP a simpler task that doesn't challenge the model to improve its understanding of the language structure. So coming on to how does SOP works. So if there are two pairs, which is the positive sentence pairs and the negative sentence pair. So in positive sentence pairs, consecutive sentence from a text just like in NSP. And negative sentence pair, sentences that are swapped in order, challenging the model to detect sentence level coherence. So SOP is asking, are these two sentences in the right order? And if the order makes sense, it's a positive. If the order doesn't make sense, it's a negative sentence. So these are the few examples which can better differentiate the concept of NSP and SOP with respect to the positive and the negative examples. Now comes a very crucial site which discusses about the BERT versus Albert. So if I compare on the basis of parameter size, so BERT-large has 334 million parameters, while Albert X large has only 235 million parameters, which shows a significant reduction in BERT and Albert. Now, if I talk about the model's performance after the reduced number of parameters, so despite the reduction in parameters, Albert performs equally or better than BERT on most of the benchmarks. So, for example, in Squad 2.0 benchmark, Albert X large achieves an F1 score of 88.1, which outperforms the BERT-large, which scores 85. Now, coming to the training efficiency, Albert is more memory efficient, which allows it to be trained faster than BERT, especially for larger models. Coming up to certain previous research which was done before. So BERT introduced masked language modeling, which is MLM, and next sentence prediction, which is NSP, achieving of state-of-art performance on the range of NLP tasks. But coming to the limitations of BERT, large number of parameters make it more resource intensive to train and deploy. The improvements with ExcelNet and Roberta, ExcelNet introduced permutation-based language modeling, which improving upon the BERT's MLM objective, but still facing parameter efficiency issues. Now, the Roberta removed the NSP task, showcasing that BERT could be improved by focusing solely on masked language models. So Albert builds on this work by reducing model parameters through factorization and parameter sharing while maintaining and or improving performance on key benchmarks. And here we come to the conclusion and the future scope. So I would say that Albert's efficiency make it feasible for the real world applications like conversational AI, voice assistants, and maybe translation system. So if I would say that the next steps in research, so researchers may explore more advanced parameter sharing techniques for further refinements to self-supervised tasks like SOP, potentially making Albert even more efficient and adaptable to the diverse tasks.